graduated in 2013 from the SFSU Ed Leadership Doctoral program. I currently work at Lincoln Child Center as a senior director, and when I entered the program, I was working there, and when I graduated from the program, I got recruited to a tenure track position at Cal State East Bay. So I am an assistant professor in the social work program. I've been to all the public schools in the Bay Area: UC Berkeley, Cal State East Bay, San Francisco State, Laney, Merritt, all the proud colleges I've attended, as well as public schools in Oakland and Berkeley. My dissertation was on disproportionality of suspension of black boys. So I looked at how education impacts boys of color in schools, and so you're looking a lot at discipline and how schools and systems and structures respond to behavior differently with some kids than others. So I found it really engaging and really eye-opening and giving me tools and frameworks to see the problem differently. In a practical sense, I began to look at the systems and structures on a more abstract level, as well as being steeped in the day-to-day practice of education and mental health on a day-to-day basis, which really is the core of the program, it being a scholar practitioner model. So it's not research, we're just gonna think and talk and read, but we're gonna think and talk and read and then go to work on Monday and talk to people and work with people that are doing direct care and direct service. Once we started the program, we bonded really strongly as a cohort and supported each other. You know, it helps just on a practical level to know that you're not alone in being completely overwhelmed with having to read 1,000 pages a week. You know, they move you through the experience very rapidly. I'm not familiar, obviously, with the PhD process, but for the EDD, it's 3 years. So you're in and you're out, and you have no time to be confused. And of course, being humans, we get confused when we're you know, getting a whole bunch of things thrown at us. So the program had a really strong support system with the director, the program coordinator, and the core faculty that were involved, and they really case managed us when we first entered the program with our writing level, with our level of scholarship, and with our grasp on the concepts and the core concept of equity. For me, the assessment was to get me technical writing support right away and ramped up my learning curve in that first semester to the degree that I really improved my writing a tremendous amount in a few short months. So as an African-American male with 2 black boys as sons, it was a topic that was near and dear to my heart. So the research that I did was in a local district, urban district, so I was able to focus and use my networks and connections to identify the schools and the classrooms and the teachers that I wanted to do the research in. How did effective teachers discipline classrooms that had students of color in it, particularly black boys? So it was an interesting design where I focused on a problem. That's what they tell you to do. Find a problem and tell us why it's so important of disproportionate suspension of black boys. But the study, instead of looking at the problem further, because there was a ton of research already examining what was wrong and how it was happening, I wanted to find successful interventions. So I sought out principals to nominate effective teachers. I said, who are your best teachers that have those kids that other teachers may be kicking out of their class? And it served 2 purposes. It allowed me to get access without teachers feeling defensive. You're going to come in and you know, tear me apart. It was honoring of, you know, you've been identified by your boss for doing a good job in this area with this group. And it also allowed us to move the data that's out there about this issue more towards a solution. So classroom solutions was what I looked at, and particularly I focused on the adult. So I looked at a problem that impacted youth, but my lens was on what was the adult doing, not what the student was doing. And some of my findings revealed that if the adult has certain characteristics and certain values and beliefs about discipline and behavior and learning in particular, that it doesn't really matter how the student behaves if the adult knows how to behave and support the student. I saw some challenging classrooms. It was hard to sit through the type of behavior that was going on in the classroom, and the teacher was focused on learning. So what I saw was a focus on learning that superseded their own emotional triggering. And so there was 3 commitments that I found: a courageous commitment, which I called it a courageous commitment because it was that learning focused commitment. Like, I'm gonna be responsible for your learning, right? So you can come with trauma, you can come with issues, you can come with lack of preparedness from your previous grades and teachers, but I'm gonna take responsible now that you're in my class for your learning. I'm gonna know what you're capable of, and I'm gonna, if you show up, I'm gonna make sure you learn. I'm gonna make that my responsibility. So it was a courageous commitment. And then there was an emotional commitment. So you're gonna say something or do something as a child, as an adolescent that's developing, it's gonna annoy me. It's gonna piss me off, right? It's gonna offend me, because here I am trying to support you, and I'm gonna be the adult, and I'm gonna keep pushing forward, and I'm gonna use my power in a way that supports your learning regardless of what's going on for you. And I'm gonna really show you that I care, and I'm gonna earn your respect, and I'm gonna make you learn. And then the other was a commitment to equity. So, and that one in particular involved teachers using whatever skills and resources they had in the school environment, in the institutional environment, to minimize disenfranchisement of black males. So for instance, if the school says no hats, no chewing gum, no cell phones, I'm not gonna kick you out if you refuse to take off your hat. I'm not gonna have you blow out because you won't give up your cell phone. I'm gonna do whatever I can to keep the focus on your learning and your engagement, and we're gonna deal with that other stuff as you have the capacity to. So understanding the emotional capacity of the young person and having an understanding of whatever tensions and frustrations they may be bringing to the classroom and working around that for the goal of learning. So that was also part of my study, was to observe, take notes, and then do interviews afterwards. And in the interviews, I would share and offer my observations for their benefit as teachers, to affirm them and also give them the critical feedback, and they really appreciate it. That was also part of the sell in terms of getting them to agree to do the research. So it was a really positive study, and I wish I had more time and more resource to do more around looking at those classroom interventions, but I had to get my dissertation done, so. I finished early. I finished my dissertation defense in December before I graduated, mainly because I identified my topic and stayed with it at the very first orientation. What is critical is finding a topic that you feel passionate about. The other thing that's really important is picking something from and looking at it through an equity lens. You have to be flexible. You have to understand and know that it is not going to go exactly the way you planned. It's not going to go exactly on schedule. But if you're flexible and you're open to the process, you will finish. 3 years will go by no matter what. So that was my mantra. That was what I used to get through it, because I understood that this was an investment in myself. And so the time commitment is huge, and it's unrelenting throughout the 3 years, all the way to your final editing and proofing of your dissertation. But in the year and a half since I've graduated, I've gotten all of that work back tenfold. This degree that was legislated by the state really was intentional around improving the long-term educational infrastructure of California based on the decline, the decline of outcomes in California education, and particularly the community college and university systems, and the retiring of the baby boomers and educational professionals that are leaving the profession, and that this program was really designed and legislated and picked up by the state universities to create new educational leaders for the state. And I really felt that to the core at the graduation, that the dissertations that we all did in my cohort, the work that we did, the places that we're at in the community colleges, in the state colleges, that we really are the next generation of educational leaders, and that the work we're doing really is about creating this new way of approaching education for all, equity for all, and San Francisco State leads the state in that charge and in that mission.